What if I told you that peace does not require a weekend reset, a full renovation, or expensive organizing systems? What if clarity could begin in 60 seconds? What if your home could start transforming before this video even ends? Most people believe order demands intensity, that it requires motivation, energy, time they never seem to have. But in Japan, transformation often begins differently. Quietly, subtly, in minutes, not hours, not dramatic overhauls, just intentional micro-actions repeated with respect. And here is what most people never realize. Your brain does not measure change by size. It measures it by consistency. 1 minute of intention is more powerful than 1 hour of forced effort. Stay with me, because by the end of this video you will have 12 Japanese micro-rituals you can begin today. 1 per minute. 12 minutes that can reset your home. 12 minutes that can calm your mind. 12 minutes that can shift the emotional atmosphere of where you live. And somewhere in the middle of this video, you may notice something unexpected. Not just your space changing, but your breathing slowing, your shoulders softening, your thoughts becoming clearer. This is not about cleaning. It is about alignment. It is about entering your home differently. It is about building a rhythm that protects your energy. Watch until the end, because the final minute may be the most powerful of all. And when you finish, you will not feel pressured. You will feel capable, ready, grounded. Let us begin. Habit 1. The entry minute. In Japan, removing your shoes before entering a home is not merely a tradition. It is a boundary. It is a psychological reset. It is a silent declaration that what exists outside does not automatically belong inside. The outside world carries dust, noise, invisible stress, hurried conversations, unfinished tasks, emotional residue from crowded streets and crowded minds. And when you step into your home without pausing, without transitioning, without acknowledging that shift, you unconsciously invite all of that external chaos into your sanctuary. But when you pause for just 1 minute, bend slightly, untie your shoes, and place them intentionally at the entrance, something subtle yet powerful happens. Your nervous system registers the shift. Your breathing softens. Your body understands. This is a protected space. This is different. This is safe. In 1 minute, you can create this ritual. A small mat placed intentionally. A designated shelf that signals order. A pair of indoor slippers waiting quietly as if they belong to a different rhythm of life. That is all it takes. No renovation. No expensive systems. Just intention repeated consistently. This single action reduces physical dirt. Yes. But more importantly, it reduces symbolic clutter. Every time you cross that threshold and leave your shoes behind, you are leaving behind urgency. You are leaving behind deadlines, street noise, social tension, digital overwhelm. The psychological effect compounds daily. Over time, your entrance becomes more than a doorway. It becomes a transition point between roles. Outside, you perform. Inside, you restore. If you live with others, this becomes a shared rhythm of respect. Children absorb it without resistance. Guests feel it immediately. There is something deeply grounding about stepping into a space that feels intentionally protected. And slowly, your home stops feeling like a storage unit for your exhaustion and starts feeling like a refuge for your recovery. This ritual also creates predictability. And predictability calms the brain. When your mind knows that each day begins and ends with a clear boundary, stress loses its permanence. The outside world becomes temporary. The inside becomes intentional. This is not about footwear. It is about identity. It is about becoming someone who honors transitions instead of rushing through them. And later in this video, you will understand why this first minute, this simple pause at the entrance, makes the 12th minute far more powerful than it appears. Habit 2. The sink minute. There is a Japanese principle that quietly governs their kitchens and their philosophy of living. Do not allow accumulation. Accumulation rarely begins dramatically. It begins quietly. 1 cup left in the sink after coffee. 1 plate resting there after dinner. 1 spoon that can wait until later. And that later becomes tomorrow. That tomorrow becomes a small stack. That small stack becomes a visual burden that drains your energy before you even begin cooking again. The sink becomes more than a sink. It becomes a symbol of postponed action. Washing what you use immediately takes less than a minute. But emotionally, it gives you something priceless. Closure. A clear sink represents a clear cycle. You used. You cleaned. You completed. Completion creates calm. And calm builds momentum. When you walk into a kitchen with an empty sink, your body relaxes almost instantly. There is no silent accusation waiting for you. No postponed task whispering in the background. No subtle guilt attached to a growing pile. 1 minute after every meal protects you from 30 minutes of future frustration. But the deeper truth is this. When you practice immediate completion in small things, your mind begins applying that discipline to larger areas of life. Emails get answered faster. Small conversations get resolved sooner. Tasks stop lingering in mental storage. Because you are training yourself to close loops. In Japan, discipline is not loud. It is embedded into daily rhythm. The sink minute is not about dishes. It is about reinforcing identity. You become someone who finishes what they start. Someone who values flow over backlog. And over time, the emotional weight inside your home decreases. You no longer experience your kitchen as a battlefield of unfinished effort. It becomes a space of clarity and nourishment. The 1-minute wash may feel insignificant at first. But repeated daily, it shifts your relationship with responsibility. You no longer fear accumulation because you prevent it. You no longer dread cleaning because it never escalates. You operate from maintenance instead of recovery. And maintenance is peaceful. The sink becomes a quiet teacher. It reminds you that most overwhelm is not caused by complexity. It is caused by postponement. Remove postponement, and peace expands naturally. Habit 3. The paper minute. Paper is quiet, but relentless. It does not shout. It accumulates. Receipts folded into pockets. Envelopes left unopened. Printed notes from weeks ago. Documents you meant to review later. They gather in corners of your home and corners of your mind. Each sheet represents a decision not yet made. Each envelope represents something unresolved. And even if you do not consciously think about them, your brain registers their presence as incomplete loops. In Japan, minimalism is not dramatic. It is consistent. No emotional speeches. No weekend purges. Just 1 paper per day removed. That is all. 1 receipt discarded. 1 expired bill shredded. 1 unnecessary printout recycled. 60 seconds. Over a month, that becomes 30 decisions completed instead of postponed. 30 mental weights removed. 30 subtle stress signals eliminated. And your desk begins to breathe again. Your visual field clears. Mental noise decreases. Because clutter is not only physical density. It is unresolved intention. When your workspace is covered in paper, your brain interprets it as unfinished business. Even if those papers are irrelevant. Even if they are outdated, the symbolic weight remains. But when you remove 1 sheet each day, you are training yourself to face small decisions immediately. You are building tolerance for closure. You are strengthening decisiveness gently. And slowly, your environment begins reflecting clarity instead of hesitation. There is also something deeply grounding about handling paper intentionally. Sorting, folding, shredding. It becomes a tactile reminder that you are capable of reducing complexity. That you are not at the mercy of accumulation. That your space responds to your attention. And once you notice the calm that follows a cleared desk, you may begin to see another form of paper. Invisible paper. Digital clutter. Screenshots. Downloads. Files you forgot. And in a moment, we will talk about that invisible accumulation, and you may recognize something in your own phone. Habit 4. The recycling minute. Recycling in Japan is an act of respect. Materials are separated with precision. Paper from cardboard. Plastics from metals. Glass from general waste. The order begins before the trash bin fills. It begins with awareness. It begins with intention at the moment of disposal. And this mindset transforms waste into flow. Intake, use, release, completion. You can apply this same awareness in 1 minute a day. Identify one recyclable item. Just one. A bottle, a can, a cardboard box. Place it correctly. That small act prevents future disorder. Over time, your trash no longer feels chaotic. Your home no longer hosts bags of mixed neglect. Instead, you create rhythm. You prevent buildup before it begins. And something subtle happens internally. You begin to see consumption differently. You become more aware of what enters your home, more aware of what leaves, more aware of how cycles function. Recycling becomes less about environmental responsibility and more about psychological closure. You are finishing the story of each object. You are acknowledging that use does not mean indefinite storage. It means transition. And when you consistently finish cycles, your identity shifts. You become someone who respects space. Someone who does not allow neglect to accumulate in corners. Someone who participates actively in the maintenance of order. This habit also builds discipline quietly, because separating one item daily requires attention, and attention strengthens presence. Over weeks, your trash area becomes cleaner. Your kitchen feels lighter. The subtle guilt associated with mixed waste disappears, and your mind absorbs that clarity. Order expands from there naturally, because once you experience the calm of completed cycles, you begin applying that principle to other areas of life. Conversations, projects, habits. The Recycling Minute teaches you something profound. Peace is not created by avoiding responsibility. It is created by completing it gently, consistently, without drama. Habit 5. The Closet Minute. Danshari. There is a Japanese concept called danshari. Refuse, release, separate. 3 simple words that quietly challenge the way most people relate to their belongings. Danshari teaches that what you keep shapes who you become. Not in a dramatic way, not in a mystical way, but in a daily, practical, psychological way. Your closet is not just storage. It is a mirror. It reflects past identities, past preferences, past versions of yourself that may no longer align with who you are today. Every day, remove one item of clothing you no longer wear. Just one. No dramatic overhaul. No emotional overwhelm. No pulling everything out onto the bed. Just one shirt. One pair of pants. One forgotten sweater tucked in the back. Hold it. Ask quietly, does this represent who I am now? If not, place it in a donation box. That is all. 60 seconds. The power is not in the volume removed. It is in the consistency of release. Over weeks, your closet shifts from crowded to curated, from chaotic to intentional, from heavy to breathable. And something unexpected happens. Decision fatigue decreases. When you open your wardrobe in the morning, you no longer face a museum of outdated choices. You face alignment. You begin wearing only what supports your present self, not what represents your past self. Mornings feel lighter because fewer decisions are required. The mental friction disappears. The subtle hesitation vanishes. There is clarity instead of confusion, and clarity creates calm. Danshari also strengthens identity. Each time you release something unnecessary, you reinforce that you are not defined by accumulation. You are defined by intention. You stop holding on to clothes, just in case. You stop storing guilt purchases. You stop preserving identities that no longer serve you. And that release extends beyond fabric. It begins influencing your thinking. You become more decisive, more selective, more aware of what you allow into your life. The Closet Minute teaches restraint before accumulation and courage before attachment. It shifts you from passive keeping to active choosing. And this shift ripples outward. Your space feels more spacious. Your mornings feel more grounded. Your relationship with self-image stabilizes. Because what you wear daily influences how you move through the world. When your wardrobe aligns with your current values, you move with quiet confidence. And if you stay until habit 10, you will see how this release connects directly to discipline at the start of your day. The Closet Minute is not about clothing. It is about clarity. It is about becoming intentional with identity. One item at a time. Pause for a moment. Notice how none of these habits required intensity. None demanded hours. And yet, imagine practicing just 5 of them consistently. Your home would already feel different. Now we move deeper into spaces that carry even stronger emotional impact. Habit 6. The Bathroom Minute. The bathroom reveals consistency. It is one of the most frequently used spaces in your home, yet often the most neglected until accumulation forces attention. In Japan, deep cleaning is rarely necessary because maintenance is daily. The philosophy is simple. Prevent buildup before it becomes visible. 1 minute wiping the mirror after brushing your teeth. 1 minute drying the sink instead of leaving water stains. 1 minute running a cloth over the faucet before mineral deposits form. Instead of confronting accumulated grime once a week in a heavy, exhausting cleaning session, you dissolve it daily in almost invisible gestures. And emotionally, this changes your relationship with care. You are no longer reacting to mess. You are preventing it. Prevention feels powerful. It restores control quietly. It shifts you from feeling behind to feeling ahead. The Bathroom Minute also carries symbolic weight. The bathroom is where you prepare yourself for the world and where you unwind from it. It holds your reflection. When the mirror is clean, the reflection feels clearer. When the sink is fresh, the space feels dignified. And dignity reinforces self-respect. You begin to notice how small maintenance builds quiet pride. There is no dramatic transformation, just steady preservation. Over time, your bathroom stops being a space that deteriorates between cleanings. It becomes a space that remains stable. And stability reduces mental noise. Because when you walk into a room that consistently feels fresh, your nervous system does not brace for correction. It relaxes. This minute also trains patience. It requires discipline without urgency. It builds the habit of acting before discomfort forces action. And that skill extends into other areas of life. You answer messages sooner. You address small issues earlier. You prevent tension from escalating. The Bathroom Minute is a lesson in timing. Act while it is easy. Maintain while it is light. Preserve before it becomes heavy. And in doing so, you redefine care not as reaction, but as rhythm. Habit 7. The Table Minute. The main table becomes a magnet for unfinished intention. Keys dropped without thought. Bags set down in a hurry. Letters left unopened. Small objects placed temporarily but never relocated. Over days, the table transforms from functional surface to emotional storage. It begins holding more than objects. It holds postponement. It holds distraction. It holds silent reminders of what you have not yet resolved. Before sleeping, clear it. 1 minute. Remove what does not belong. Return keys to their place. File the letter. Move the bag. Wipe the surface lightly. Restore emptiness. This simple ritual changes more than appearance. When you wake up and see a clean surface, your nervous system interprets it as clarity. The first image of your morning shapes the tone of your day. If the first image is chaos, your mind begins in reaction mode. If the first image is order, your mind begins in grounded mode. Protect that image. The Table Minute becomes a bridge between yesterday and today. It closes one cycle and prepares the next. It teaches you that endings matter as much as beginnings. And there is something deeply stabilizing about ending the day with intentional reset. You go to sleep without visual tension lingering in your peripheral awareness. You wake without subconscious stress. Over time, the table no longer becomes a landing zone for randomness. It becomes sacred space. A surface for conversation, for meals, for presence. And that shift affects how you interact within your home. You are less reactive, less scattered, more deliberate. The Table Minute builds closure into your evenings. And closure builds calm into your mornings. Habit 8. The digital minute. Clutter is not only visible. It lives in your phone, in your tablet, in your laptop, unused apps, screenshots you forgot, notifications that accumulate like mental static, downloads never opened again, files labeled vaguely. Digital accumulation feels harmless because it occupies no physical space. But cognitively, it occupies attention. Each icon represents potential action. Each unread notification represents pending energy. Each cluttered folder represents delayed decision. Delete 10 photos. Remove 1 application. Organize 1 folder. 1 minute. Digital simplicity reduces cognitive fatigue more than most people realize. When your screen is clean, your brain processes less visual noise. When notifications decrease, your stress decreases. When apps are intentional, your device becomes focused. And when your device becomes focused, your mind follows. The digital minute is powerful because modern life exists partially inside screens. If your digital environment is chaotic, your mental environment absorbs that chaos. But if your digital space is curated, intentional, restrained, your mind mirrors that order. This habit also builds discernment. You begin asking before downloading, do I need this? You begin pausing before saving, will I use this? And slowly, digital restraint spills into physical restraint. You consume less. You accumulate less. You scroll less mindlessly. You become more aware of where your attention goes. And attention is your most valuable resource. The digital minute protects that resource. Teaches you that simplicity is not deprivation. It is clarity. Your device stops feeling like a source of silent overwhelm and becomes what it was meant to be. A tool. And when your tools serve you instead of distract you, your rhythm stabilizes. Your focus sharpens. Your days feel lighter. Digital declutter is not optional in modern minimalism. It is foundational. Habit 9. The surface minute. Choose one frequently used surface. Just one. Not the entire house. Not every room. One surface that silently influences your day more than you realize. It may be your desk, your kitchen counter, your coffee table, your nightstand. Wipe it, clear it, restore it. That is all. 1 minute. What makes this habit powerful is not the physical act of cleaning. It is the psychological reset that follows. Surfaces are where life lands. They collect crumbs, receipts, dust, keys, cups, random objects that temporarily stop there and quietly stay. And over time, those surfaces begin to signal something to your brain. They either communicate readiness or resistance. A cluttered surface invites hesitation. It subtly tells you that something is unfinished, that something is pending, that something requires effort. A clean surface, on the other hand, reflects light differently. It feels open. It feels possible. It invites engagement instead of avoidance. When your desk is clear, beginning work feels easier. When your counter is clean, preparing food feels lighter. When your table is restored, sitting down feels intentional. Order invites use. Disorder invites delay. This minute is deceptively small, but it creates visual clarity, and visual clarity reduces cognitive load. Your eyes relax. Your breathing slows. Your mind stops scanning for unfinished signals. Over time, the surface minute becomes preventative maintenance. You no longer wait for dust to accumulate. You no longer wait for clutter to pile up. You address it while it is light. And addressing things while they are light builds confidence. You begin to trust your ability to maintain instead of recover. The emotional impact compounds. A single restored surface changes the tone of the entire room. It becomes an anchor point of calm. And even if the rest of the space is not perfect, that one clear surface offers stability. It tells your brain, at least this is in order. At least this is intentional. And that small assurance reduces subtle stress more than you expect. The surface minute is not about perfection. It is about momentum. It teaches you that order is built incrementally, not dramatically. And when you practice this daily, You start noticing how your environment responds quickly to small effort. That responsiveness builds empowerment. Empowerment builds discipline. And discipline builds peace. Habit 10. The bed minute. The futon principle in Japan. Folding the futon each morning is not considered a chore. It is considered rhythm. It marks the transition from rest to readiness. It signals that the night has closed and the day has begun. Making your bed may seem insignificant, but psychologically, it represents completion before the day truly begins. It is a micro-victory, and the brain loves completion. When you smooth the sheets, align the pillows, or fold the futon carefully, you are telling yourself something subtle but powerful. I follow through. I close cycles. I begin intentionally. That message, repeated daily, shapes identity. The bed minute does not require perfection. It does not require decorative pillows or aesthetic precision. It requires consistency. 60 seconds of alignment. And that alignment echoes throughout the day. Because the first action you take in the morning influences the posture of your mind. If your first action is avoidance, your mind adopts delay. If your first action is completion, your mind adopts momentum. When you return at night to a made bed, something almost invisible happens. You meet your past self with gratitude. You see evidence that earlier in the day, you cared enough to prepare comfort for your future self. That creates trust. Trust in yourself reduces anxiety. Anxiety often emerges when you do not trust your own discipline. But when small promises are kept daily, self-trust stabilizes. The bed minute is also symbolic. It transforms a private space into a respected one. It prevents your bedroom from feeling like a continuation of chaos. Instead, it feels like a reset chamber. A place where rest is protected. In Japanese homes, simplicity and discipline coexist. The futon is folded not out of obligation, but out of respect for rhythm. When you adopt this principle, you shift from reacting to mornings to leading them. You become proactive before the day makes demands. And this proactive energy compounds quietly. The bed minute teaches something profound. The day does not begin when the world contacts you. It begins when you align yourself. And that alignment begins with a simple, intentional gesture. 1 minute. 1 fold. 1 completed action. That is enough to shift momentum.
Hi there.
Habit 11. The gratitude minute. Look around your home. Really look. The roof above you. The walls that shelter you. The bed you rest on. The kitchen that feeds you. The table where you sit. The light that enters through the window. These are ordinary elements. So ordinary that you rarely pause to acknowledge them. But gratitude transforms routine into privilege. It shifts perception from scarcity to sufficiency. And perception shapes emotional climate. 1 minute acknowledging what supports you dissolves silent dissatisfaction. Much of modern stress is not rooted in what is missing, but in what is unnoticed. When you practice gratitude intentionally, you recalibrate your focus. Instead of scanning for flaws, you scan for support. Instead of noticing what needs improvement, you notice what already sustains you. This habit is deeply aligned with Japanese philosophy, where respect for space is intertwined with respect for existence. Gratitude turns your home from a structure into a sanctuary, from a possession into a partner. Emotional clutter decreases when appreciation increases. Complaints soften. Expectations stabilize. You begin inhabiting your space instead of criticizing it. And that shift reduces subtle tension. Gratitude also builds emotional resilience. When you acknowledge stability daily, you reduce the impact of small frustrations. A minor inconvenience does not feel catastrophic when you have anchored yourself in appreciation. The gratitude minute is not about forced positivity. It is about recognition. Recognition that even imperfect spaces provide shelter. Even modest kitchens provide nourishment. Even simple beds provide rest. This awareness builds humility. And humility builds peace. When you enter rooms with appreciation, your body relaxes. Your mind softens. Your tone changes. Gratitude alters atmosphere invisibly but powerfully. And over time, your home begins feeling warmer, not because it changed physically, but because your perception shifted emotionally. 1 minute of acknowledgement strengthens contentment. And contentment reduces restless accumulation. When you feel grateful for what you have, you crave less. You accumulate less. You compare less. You settle into enoughness. And enoughness is a foundation for calm living. Habit 12. The silence minute. Turn everything off. No screens. No background noise. No music filling empty space. No television murmuring in the distance. Just breathe. Silence is not emptiness. It is recalibration. It is space for the nervous system to reorganize. In Japanese culture, stillness is strength. Silence is not awkward. It is restorative. 1 minute of intentional quiet reorganizes your internal rhythm. Throughout the day, you absorb constant stimulation. Notifications, conversations, traffic, visual clutter. Even subtle sounds keep your nervous system in mild activation. The silence minute interrupts that cycle. It closes the loop that began at the entrance. You left chaos outside. You maintained order inside. Now you align internally. When you sit in silence, even briefly, your breathing slows. Your shoulders drop. Your thoughts lose urgency. You begin noticing subtle sensations. The texture of air. The weight of your posture. The rhythm of your heartbeat. That awareness pulls you into the present. And presence dissolves scattered energy. Silence also strengthens self-regulation. When you practice quiet intentionally, you build tolerance for stillness. And stillness is rare in modern life. Many people avoid silence because it exposes internal noise. But when you allow 1 minute daily, that internal noise gradually softens. You become more comfortable with your own thoughts. More grounded in your own presence. The silence minute integrates all previous habits. It is the final seal on your daily reset. It transforms physical order into emotional coherence. And coherence creates stability. Stability creates confidence. Confidence creates calm. When you end your sequence of micro-habits with silence, you reinforce that peace is not accidental. It is cultivated. Not through intensity, but through intention. 1 minute of quiet is not passive. It is powerful. It teaches your nervous system that calm is accessible. That stillness is safe. That you can pause without losing control. And when you internalize that lesson, you move through life differently. Slower, clearer, more deliberate. Silence becomes not an absence, but an anchor. And with that anchor, your daily rhythm becomes complete. The identity shift. From cleaning to becoming. Before we close, there is something deeper happening beneath these 12 minutes, and if you understand this part, everything changes. These micro-actions are not about maintaining a house. They are about reshaping identity. Most people attempt transformation through intensity. They wait for motivation. They wait for a free weekend. They wait for the perfect moment. But the Japanese philosophy behind these rituals understands something essential. Identity does not shift in dramatic bursts. It shifts through repetition. When you remove your shoes with intention, you are not just protecting your floor. You are reinforcing that your space deserves respect. When you wash a cup immediately, you are not just preventing dishes from piling up. You are becoming someone who closes loops. When you delete unnecessary files from your phone, you are not just freeing storage. You are practicing discernment. Every minute is a vote. A quiet decision about who you are becoming. And this is where the transformation becomes powerful. Because once your identity begins to shift, discipline no longer feels forced. It feels natural. You stop asking yourself, do I feel like cleaning? And you start acting from a deeper place. This is simply how I live. There is calm strength in that sentence. This is simply how I live. Notice how different that feels compared to, I need to fix my life. One creates pressure. The other creates alignment. In Japan, order is rarely aggressive. It is embedded into daily rhythm. It is not an event. It is culture. And culture begins at home. When you repeat these micro-rituals daily, something subtle reorganizes inside you. You begin noticing clutter faster. You begin resolving small things immediately instead of postponing them. You begin protecting your energy instinctively. And that instinct spills into other areas of life. You respond to emails more calmly. You finish small tasks without hesitation. You speak with more clarity because your environment no longer competes for attention. This is the hidden power of microorder. It strengthens decision-making. It reduces background stress. It lowers cognitive load. Your nervous system stops living in mild chaos. And when your nervous system feels safe, your creativity returns. Your patience expands. Your relationships soften. Think about that carefully. A clean table is not about the table. It is about the message it sends to your brain. A made bed is not about aesthetics. It is about signaling completion. A silent minute is not about emptiness. It is about restoring internal balance. These rituals create internal architecture. Structure without rigidity. Discipline without harshness. Progress without burnout. That is the essence of quiet Ikigai. Living with precision, but without pressure. Living with clarity, but without noise. And here is something most people overlook. The size of the action matters less than the frequency of the intention. 1 minute done daily is more transformative than 1 hour done rarely. Because frequency builds familiarity. Familiarity builds identity. Identity builds stability. And stability builds peace. You are not chasing perfection. You are building rhythm. Rhythm creates predictability. Predictability calms the mind. A calm mind makes better decisions. Better decisions create a lighter life. That chain reaction begins in 12 minutes. Not tomorrow. Today. And here's a quiet question for you. If you can protect 12 minutes for scrolling, for distraction, for passive consumption, can you protect 12 minutes for alignment? This is not about productivity. It is about self-respect. These minutes say, my space matters. My mind matters. My energy matters. And when you repeat that message long enough, you begin to believe it. Not intellectually, viscerally. Your posture changes. Your breathing changes. The way you enter your home changes. The way you begin your morning changes. The way you end your night changes. You become more deliberate, less reactive, more aware, less overwhelmed. And gradually, without dramatic announcements, your home stops feeling like a place you manage and starts feeling like a place that supports you. That is the shift. From maintenance to partnership. From cleaning to becoming. From chaos management to intentional living. This is not about having less. It is about experiencing more peace with what you already have. And when peace becomes familiar, you stop craving constant stimulation. You stop searching for control through accumulation. You stop postponing calm for some future version of your life. Calm becomes present, accessible, built into your daily rhythm. That is why these 12 minutes matter. They are not small. They are foundational. They are not decorative. They are structural. They are not temporary. They are transformative. And once you internalize this, you will never see 1 minute the same way again. In Japan, improvement is called kaizen. Continuous refinement. Not intensity. Not perfection. Not dramatic reinvention. Just small, steady steps repeated with awareness. 12 minutes per day equals 84 minutes per week. That is barely more than a single television episode. Barely more than the time most people spend scrolling without noticing. And yet those minutes, distributed gently across your days, begin reshaping something far greater than your kitchen or your closet. They reshape your environment. And slowly, they reshape your identity. Because your home reflects your mind. And your mind reflects your habits. When you clean intentionally, you are not just removing dust. You are removing delay. When you clear surfaces, you are clearing thought. When you wash a cup immediately, you are reinforcing completion. When you fold your bed, you are reinforcing discipline. When you sit in silence, you are reinforcing presence. None of these minutes shout. None of them demand applause. They work quietly, subtly, beneath the surface. The transformation is subtle at first, then undeniable. One day you walk into your home and notice something different. The air feels lighter. Your shoulders feel softer. Your mind does not race as quickly. You begin reacting less and responding more. You feel ahead instead of behind. And you realize it was never about the cleaning. It was about the rhythm. It was about protecting your energy before it drained. It was about choosing maintenance over recovery. It was about becoming someone who lives deliberately instead of reactively. Kaizen teaches that improvement does not require force. It requires repetition. Small actions performed daily create structural change over time. And structural change creates stability. Stability creates calm. Calm creates clarity. And clarity changes the way you move through the world. You begin making decisions faster because your environment no longer overwhelms you. You begin speaking more clearly because your mind feels less crowded. You begin resting more deeply because your space supports rest instead of competing with it. This is how 12 minutes expand. They do not stay confined to surfaces and sinks. They spill into your mornings, into your conversations, into your posture, into your breathing. The order you build externally becomes coherence internally, and that coherence becomes confidence. A calm home is not a luxury. It is infrastructure. It is support. It is alignment made visible. You do not need perfection. You need consistency. You do not need more effort. You need more intention. Your home does not need to impress anyone. It needs to restore you. And restoration does not happen by accident. It happens by rhythm. Quiet rhythm. Gentle rhythm. Repeated rhythm. If something in this video resonated with you, do not rush away. Pause for a moment. Feel the difference between watching and deciding. Then write in the comments, I am building my quiet Ikigai rhythm. When you name it, you begin it. When you say it out loud, you shift from observer to participant. And that shift matters. Subscribe if you want more practices rooted in calm precision, minimal effort, and lasting clarity. This channel is not about doing more. It is about doing what matters, quietly and consistently. Your life does not need to accelerate. It needs to align. Move forward. Not with pressure. Not with urgency. With intention. Quietly. Consistently. Every day.